Ekskuus Ilse, hy het nou begin. So ek dink jy moet dalk net vir hulle sê, weet ons gaan nou begin, hoor.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Ilse Stickling speaking. I am the subject specialist for history. We are going to start in a while, so let's just give 2 minutes to see if there are any more attendees going to join this session. So please just give us some 2 minutes. Okay, good morning, everyone. It's Ilse Stickling speaking. I am the subject specialist for history, and I'm going to present this webinar. Can I just ask you to raise your hands if all of you can hear me? Okay, right on this slide, again, my name, I'm Ilse Stickling, then the history specialist who's going to present this webinar. I hope you can all see and hear me clearly. If you are struggling to hear me, please make sure that your audio is on and that your speaker's volume is turned up. Then you will automatically be muted when joining the session. Then I would like to ask you that if you have any questions on the right-hand side, you will see questions with a question box that you will just please type in your questions. I do have an assistant today, Marieke Bodenstein, who is going to answer the questions. And if there are still questions that has not been answered during the session, we will make sure to download these questions and give you feedback a little bit later. On the right-hand side, you will also see handouts. You can download this very presentation within the handout box on the right. Okay, and then please remember to send us all of your questions. I see there are still people attending this session, so let's just give one more minute before we start. Right, throughout the session, you might also hear another voice of a fellow organizer of this webinar. If we experience any technical difficulties or so forth, that will be the voice of my colleague, Surina Jordan. And then again, my assistant answering the questions while I'm going through this webinar will be Marieke Bodenstein. Once again, for those people who just attended, on the right-hand side is handouts. You can download this webinar. Okay, then I'm also sure that there are some Afrikaans attendees. I will explain some of the content in Afrikaans as well, just to make sure that the Afrikaans people also understand, especially difficult terminology and so forth. Unfortunately, we do not have the webinar notes or the PowerPoint available in Afrikaans, but we will make sure for future purposes that the Afrikaans will also be available to the Afrikaans learners. Okay, then let's start. Today I'm going to talk about the Black Power movement, in Afrikaans, die Swartmagbeweging. Now, there were a number of reasons for the Black Power movement to originate. Daar was 'n verskeidenheid van redes hoekom hierdie beweging tot stand gekom het. Now, last week I uploaded notes about the civil rights movement and some videos that you can watch and so forth. Please be reminded that you can Google various documentary short videos and so forth on these people, on these organizations and so forth. That might also be helpful in helping you to get more visual lesson to this content, and also to explain other things as well that relates to this content. So there's a variety of other sources available that you can also use. Okay, now one of the first reasons for the Black Power movement to originate was dissatisfaction with the achievements of the civil rights movement, or the CRM for short. And this was during the second half of the 1960s. Goed, so die eerste redes vir die Swartmagbeweging te ontstaan was dat hulle glad nie genoeg rede gehad het om die redes of die civil rights movement of die burgerregte beweging te seevier nie, want volgens hulle het die burgerregte beweging die minimale bereik en nie dit wat hulle wou gehad het nie. Right, so dissatisfaction in the first place with the civil rights movement. Now, if you think about the civil rights movement, we think about Martin Luther King Jr., we think about non-violent protest, we think about public disobedience, we think about sit-ins at restaurants and so forth. Just to make a point known, bus boycotts, if you think about Rosa Parks, if we think about the freedom rights, etc. So a lot of this will fall under the civil rights movement, where they thought that they could actually just make their voice heard within white society, and then promote reformation within society so that Black people can also be seen and heard. And now for some people in the second half of the 1960s, they achieved some achievements, but not considering most of or other things as well that the Black people wanted to achieve. And they thought with the Black Power movement to uplift themselves, and then if it is necessary, to have a more militaristic approach towards getting change be done. As ons dink aan die burgerregte beweging, dan kan ons dink aan sitstakings wat plaasgevind het. Ons kan dink aan Martin Luther King Jr. se praatjies wat hy gelewer het. Ons kan dink oor ongehoorsaamheid, busboykotte en sulke goed wat plaasgevind het. En dit was swart mense wat regtig hervorming wou laat plaasvind in die gemeenskap, dat blankes en swart mense goed oor die weg kom met mekaar en dat daar veranderinge kan plaasvind. But again, most of these changes did not take place that they wanted under the civil rights movement. Yes, some important changes, but not all of them. So weer eens, daar het belangrike dinge gebeur onder die burgerregte beweging wat hulle reg gekry het, maar daar was ook baie dinge wat nie verkry is deur die burgerregte beweging nie, en dit was onaanvaarbaar vir toe die Swartmagbeweging ontstaan het, want hulle het drastiese veranderinge gesoek, en as dit moes lei tot militêre optrede of meer aggressiewe optrede, dan moes dit so gewees het. Right. So, if we look at the circumstances of black people during this period of time, they still, irrespective of the functionality of the civil rights movement, experienced poor economic conditions. So most African Americans saw that there was very little to no improvement done to their life circumstances by the civil rights movement. Okay. So in Afrikaans ook, daar was aanhoudende ekonomiese probleme onder die swart mense, die Afrika-Amerikaners gewees. En baie van hulle het gevoel dat die burgerregtebeweging nie genoeg gedoen het om hulle omstandighede te verbeter nie. So alhoewel daar 'n paar suksesse was, nie genoeg om hulle omstandighede te verbeter nie. Now the majority of black people lived in crowded ghettos under very poor conditions. And these ghettos, we can also say urban slum areas. There's huge unemployment there. People receive very low wages as an income, family income. And due to this extreme poverty, you would also see a rise in crime and criminal events taking place within the ghetto areas. Right. So die groot meerderheid van swart mense het in oorbevolkte krotbuurtes gewoon of ghettos gewoon. Meeste van hulle was werkloos gewees, baie van hulle het baie lae lone ontvang, ook maar gebaseer op hulle velkleur, en armoede was daar, en waar daar armoede is daar ook baie keer kriminele aktiwiteite wat daarmee gepaard gaan. Right. Now, black people, especially in the cities, felt that the non-violent approach by the civil rights movement was inadequate. So weer eens, baie swart mense, veral in die stedelike gebiede, ons kyk nou na die krotgebiedtes veral, het gevoel dat geen geweld benadering van die burgerregtebeweging nie werksaam was nie, dit het nie gedoen wat dit moes gedoen het nie. Right, so here we see some important reasons for the movement. So the civil rights movement, the actions was to some extent successful, but to the majority of black people, especially living in slum areas, in ghettos, in city areas, and so forth, this was not effective because this did not really enhance many of the conditions they wanted the civil rights movement to address. So although some successes were achieved by the civil rights movement, it was not enough for the majority of black people in these areas to actually uplift themselves. Now, the idea of black power, what was black power? Swartmag. Beliefs to promote black pride and self-esteem. And this is where you will get the very popular slogan from, Black is beautiful. Hierdie was absoluut om trotse swart mense te vestig en hulle selfbeeld te verhoog as swart mense. En dit is waar die baie gewilde slagspreuk vandaan kom, Black is beautiful. Now, you can remember that since slavery, these people were put in an inferior position in society. If we think about wars like the American Civil War that broke out between the North and the South, if we think about the Ku Klux Klan that in 3 different periods developed themselves, and there was a rise in Ku Klux Klan activity and so forth, that many black people experienced a lot of oppression for many, many years. And the Black Power movement wanted to change all of this, to give a say back to black people, to empower themselves so that they can feel proud of themselves to be black. As ons kyk na die Swartmagbeweging ook, swart mense van die tyd van slawerny af, as ons dink na die burgeroorlog in Amerika wat plaasgevind het tussen die noorde en die suide, as ons bietjie kyk na die Ku Klux Klan selfs, wat in 3 verskillende periodes na vore gekom het en werksaam was, is swart mense erg gedomineer en daar was erge diskriminasie teen swart mense gewees. En die idee van die Swartmagbeweging was waar die burgerregte beweging misluk het hulle probeer om swart mense te bemagtig. Om te sê, weet jy wat, hulle het 'n stem as mense en hulle is belangrik as mense. Right. Now also to promote black interests, especially in political circumstances as well. They have seen the impact of Martin Luther King Jr., that black people can actually make an impact in the politics, right? And they should represent themselves. They should have a bigger say within government as such. So weer eens wou swart mense hulle eie belange bevorder het, veral ten opsigte van die regering. Hulle het gekyk na Martin Luther King Jr., hulle het gesien wat se waarde hy toevoeg, sy praatjies en goeders wat hy lewer, en hulle het besluit die swart man kan 'n stem hê in die regering, en dit is sodoende wat hulle ook probeer bevorder het ten opsigte van die Swartmagbeweging. Right. Then black self-help. This was quite important for the Black Power movement, is to bring the focus to black people that they don't need to be dependent on white people to develop themselves. White people are actually the people that is throwing them in a position of dependency, and they should get out of that position. So they can become an independent people that can do things for themselves. They don't need to be dependent on white people. So weer eens, die swart mense het gefokus met die Swartmagbeweging om hulle self te help, om onafhanklik te raak van wit mense. Hulle het gevoel dat hulle mense in hulle eie reg is, en hulle het nie wit mense nodig om vir hulle posisies te gee of hulle te help bevorder of wat ook al nie. Hulle is in staat daartoe om dit self te doen. Right, now the Black Power movement also gave self-defense classes against racial oppression. So they would teach self-defense to black people who were experiencing oppression, and especially in the time when police brutality was a common thing within especially the city areas. So 'n selfverdedigingsklasse is deur die Swartmagbeweging bevorder, waar hulle mense geleer het om hulle self te verdedig, en veral in die tydperk toe daar verskriklike polisie brutaliteit was in stedelike gebiede. Now, the fostering also of a distinctive black culture to develop and celebrate a unique black culture. You can imagine if you now go for many years, centuries, being in a inferior position, in a slave position, you tend to fall within that mindset. And this is one of the things that the Black Power movement wanted to do away with. So die Swartmagbeweging wou gehad het dat 'n unieke swart kultuur moet ontstaan, dat mense moet trots wees daarop om swart te wees. Want as 'n mens terugkyk na slawerny en 'n mens kyk terug na kulturele ondergang en goeters van die onderdrukking van die swart mense, dan het hulle probeer om te sê, maar die swart mense hoef nie in 'n onderdanige posisie te wees nie, hulle kan hulle self ophef in die gemeenskap, en hulle moet trots wees daarop, op hulle eie swart kultuur. Right, so the fostering of a distinctive black culture to develop and celebrate a unique black culture, to get out of that mindset of being a slave, being oppressed, and to actually take pride in their origins and take pride in the fact that they are black and that they are unique. Right, a self-sufficient black economy. Again, this has to do with independency from white people. They don't need white people to start businesses. They don't need to work for white people. They can become independent themselves. So to start a self-sufficient black economy that can also bring more money into black communities. So where there's extreme poverty and economic challenges, that they can actually start to uplift themselves. So onafhanklike swart ekonomie wat hulle self kan onderhou veral in streke waar daar geweldige armoede beleef is en so aan, dat hulle daardie geld kan aanwend deur 'n swart ekonomie te stig en na hulle eie mense te kan kyk en daardeur ook hulle eie mense kan uplift. Reg. Let's go to the next slide. Right, different ideas within the Black Power movement. Now, the first thing to note is that the Black Power movement was not a formal organization. The Black Power movement also comprised of various other groups and aspects and so forth. Right, and within the Black Power movement as a whole, you would find that there were different followers with different kinds of ideas and so forth. Some people would have a more approach towards the civil rights movement to say that, you know, there's some way that we can integrate white people and black people to live in harmony with one another and so forth. And then you would also get your extreme militaristic approach people who would say that violence is the only way to make our voices heard. And we don't want to integrate necessarily with white people. We can start our own nationalist society as black people. So you would find different ideas within the Black Power movement, and this would eventually also lead to the fall of the Black Power movement and institutions within the Black Power movement later on. Goed. So wat belangrik is om te weet is dat die Swartmagbeweging nie 'n formele organisasie was nie. Met ander woorde, dit het verskillende mense gehad met verskillende sienswyses. Jy het mense gehad binne die Swartmagbeweging wat byvoorbeeld meer ondersteunend was teenoor die burgerregte beweging en hulle wou integrasie gehad het met die wit mense as sulks. En dan het 'n mens aan die ander kant 'n baie militêre vleuel gehad van die Swartmagbeweging wat 'n nasionale of 'n staat wou bou gebaseer op nasionalisme, wat meer militant was en 'n baie meer aggressiewe benadering gehad het om verandering teweeg te bring. Right. One of the examples that we are going to look at is the story of Malcolm X. Now, Malcolm X believed in black separation or black nationalism. In other words, that black people should be separate from white people. They could develop themselves, they could start being a nation on their own. And this is what he wanted to achieve during the first part of his career. And we're going to see later on how that developed. Goed. So een van die voorbeelde waarna ons gaan kyk is Malcolm X. Nou Malcolm X het geglo dat swart mense apart moet wees van wit mense af en hy het ook probeer om swart nasionalisme te bevorder as sulks. Right. But mostly they believed in a more militant action as a means to liberate themselves from oppression. So this is what separates the civil rights movement from the Black Power movement. Because although there were people that went more towards the side of the civil rights movement, they all believed that if talking and speeches and non-violent approaches are not going to be effective, then the only answer is going to be more militant action to make their voices heard. So weer eens, dit maak nie saak nie, baie van die Swartmagbeweging mense, veral die wat ook nou nogal gestaan het vir die burgerregte beweging en goeders, hulle was meer militant gewees in hulle optrede. Hulle het gevoel dat as hierdie goed nie gaan werk so sitstakings en boykotte en om met mense te praat en te probeer redeneer en al daai goeders nie, dan gaan militêre aksie nodig wees, geweld gaan nodig wees om hulle stemme te laat hoor en om vordering te maak. Right. Now there you will see a symbol of the Black Power movement with the fist in the hand to say that black people can be powerful, they can be independent from white people, they can develop themselves, and they should take pride in being black, and black is beautiful. Right. The next slide, Malcolm X. There in the background photo, you can see that is Malcolm X. I'm just going to take a sip of water, please excuse me. Right. Now, Malcolm X was born as Malcolm Little in 1925. Now, you can imagine with the surname Little that it's not really going to make an impact in the politics. So he decided to change his surname to X, and that was after converting to the Nation of Islam. Right. Now, Malcolm X had a very rough childhood, and when he was 13 years old, he and his 6 siblings were sent to different foster homes. Right. There was alcohol abuse, there was poverty, there was difficult circumstances, depressed mother who was attending facilities and so forth. So obviously grew up under very, very difficult circumstances and being raised in different foster homes. At the age of 18, Malcolm X moved to Harlem in New York, and he became involved in criminal activities. Now, it is important to note that in many ghettos, in many urban slum areas and so forth, these people are raised with criminal activities around them. They don't know necessarily any better way or so forth. This is the way they grew up. Right. Now, Malcolm X was imprisoned in 1946. He received an 8 to 10 year sentence. And it was during this jail sentence, when he was in prison, that he was introduced to the Nation of Islam. He joined the Nation of Islam in 1952, and he quickly actually became one of its ministers. Right. So Malcolm X is gebore in 1925 as Malcolm Little. Jy kan dink dat die van Little nou nie juist 'n groot ding sal word in die politiek nie, en dat sy van verander is na X toe wat meer van 'n standpunt gemaak het, en Malcolm X het onder geweldige moeilike omstandighede groot geword. Daar was alkoholisme in die familie gewees, daar was depressie in die familie gewees, baie moeilike omstandighede, en hy en 6 van sy broers en susters is dan gestuur na verskillende weeshuise of ouerhuise wat hulle groot gemaak het, as ek dit so kan stel. Hy het dan getrek op 18-jarige ouderdom na Harlem toe, wat in New York geleë is, en daar het hy betrokke geraak in kriminele aktiwiteite. En onthou, dit is maar iets waarmee hulle groot geword het, in slum areas, in ghettos, krootbuurtes en goeters. Hulle was omring gewees met kriminele aktiwiteite, met armoede en allerhande sulke goeters, so dis maar iets wat hy geken het. En dan in 18 in Harlem het hy voortgegaan met kriminele aktiwiteite en goeters by betrokke geraak. Hy was tronk toe gestuur in 1946 en hy moes vir 8 tot 10 jaar sy vonnis uitdien. En daar het hy betrokke geraak met die Nasie van Islam. En hy het baie vinnig die Nasie van Islam of betrokke geraak as 'n lid daarvan in 1952, en hy het ook baie vinnig homself opgewerk as een van die ministers in die Nasie van Islam. Right, now Malcolm X, just like Adolf Hitler, was a very gifted public speaker. They could get the attention of a lot of people. Also, you don't necessarily, they've got loud voices, they've got clear voices, and the way they speak, they just drew in people to actually listen to them, right? And he very quickly succeeded in gaining new recruits for the Nation of Islam. So, Malcolm X, net soos wat Adolf Hitler was 'n baie goeie publieke spreker gewees, en hulle het nogal baie sukses daarin gevind om nuwe lede te kry. Malcolm X dan vir die Nasie van Islam ook. Baie mooi duidelik gepraat, 'n harde duidelike stem gehad, maar ook die charisma om mense te trek om na hom te kom luister, en dit het hom baie gewild gemaak. Right, Malcolm X continues. The Nation of Islam believed that black people were superior to white people. Now, many times in historical content, if we talk about black people, especially in apartheid South Africa also, black people will refer to other races as well besides white people, right? So this is important that in this context also black people will include other racial groups besides the white people. So die nasie van Islam het geglo dat swart mense superior was of meerderwaardig was ten opsigte van wit mense. Nou in die konteks van die geskiedenis verwys die term swart mense baie keer na ander rassegroepe ook wat nie wit is nie. Reg. So dit sal jou ander bevolkingsgroepe ook insluit. Byvoorbeeld in apartheid Suid-Afrika as hulle gepraat het van swart mense, dan sou dit jou Indiërs ook ingesluit het, dit sou jou kleerlinge ook ingesluit het. Alright. So the Nation of Islam believed in the complete separation of black and white people. That black and white people should be separated from each other, they should develop themselves, they should live apart, and so forth, not integrate at all. Right. So die nasie van Islam het ook geglo dat daar 'n totale separasie moet wees tussen swart mense en wit mense, dat hulle apart moet bly en apart moet ontwikkel van mekaar. Right. They believe that black people should establish their own state within the United States of America until they could move back to Africa, to go back to their roots. Right. So, hulle het geglo dat swart mense hulle eie nasionalistiese staat moes begin het in die Verenigde State van Amerika, totdat hulle die geleentheid gekry het om terug te gaan na hulle oorsprong toe in Afrika. Now, Malcolm X believed that black people should use whatever means were necessary in self-defense against white people in their fight for liberty and equality. Right. So Malcolm X het geglo dat swart mense watse metode ook al moes gebruik het om hulle self te verdedig teen wit mense en om te baklei vir hulle vryheid en gelykheid in die samelewing as sulks. En as dit geweld beteken, dan beteken dit hulle moet geweld gebruik. So if that meant they needed to use violence, then violence was an option to get what they wanted for themselves. Now in 1963, Malcolm X delivered a speech in which he openly committed himself to black nationalism and black revolution, openly criticizing the civil rights movement. So now it became very clear that Malcolm X was very militant in his approach and that he despised basically the civil rights movement and thought of them as being totally inadequate in achieving goals for black people in the United States of America. And he would obviously want to take a more violent approach to create a nation of black people in the United States of America. So in 1963 het Malcolm X in die openbaar die burgerregte beweging gekritiseer en dit het ook geopenbaar dat Malcolm X 'n baie militante standpunt gehad het ten opsigte van verandering en dat as hy geweld moes gebruik het, dat hy dit sou gebruik het en dat hy graag 'n nasionalistiese staat wou geskep het in die VSA vir swart mense as sulks. Okay, Malcolm X continue. Malcolm X broke away from the Nation of Islam in 1964. Now there were a number of reasons for that. He was extremely popular within the Nation of Islam and this created a lot of tension with other leaders within the Nation of Islam organization. He was also very critical of the leader Elijah Muhammad, right? So Malcolm X het besluit om weg te breek van die nasie van Islam in 1964 en daar was 'n verskeidenheid van redes vir dit. Ook maar omdat daar baie uitvinnig opbeweeg in posisies van mag en dit het baie konflik veroorsaak binne die organisasie self en dan het hy ook openlik die leier van die beweging gekritiseer wat Elijah Muhammad was. Now Malcolm decided to become a Sunni Muslim and he went on a pilgrimage to Mecca. So Malcolm X het besluit om 'n Sunni Muslim te word en hy het dan ook besluit om te gaan op 'n pelgrimstog na Mecca. Mecca in Saudi-Arabië. Now, it is expected of every Muslim to once in their life go to Mecca to participate in the pilgrimage activities in Mecca. Where you have to walk around a black box called the Kaaba. And Malcolm X decided to participate in this as well. Right. So Malcolm X het weggebreek van die nasie van Islam af. Hy het besluit om 'n Sunni moslim te word en hy het 'n pelgrimstog gevat na Mekka toe in Saudi-Arabië. Dit is waar moslems verwag word ten minste een keer in hulle lewe daar uit te kom. En dan is daar 'n swart boks, die Kaaba genoem, waarom hulle moet beweeg en daar is sekere aktiwiteite en goeders rondom dit wat hulle moet voltooi. Right. Now, this pilgrimage to Mecca had a huge impact on Malcolm X's vision for his next vision versus his previous vision concerning Black power in the United States of America. So dis baie belangrik om te weet dat hierdie pelgrimstog na Mekka toe het 'n baie groot impak op Malcolm X gehad, ten opsigte van sy siening wat hy gehad het toe hy nog by die nasie van Islam was versus die siening wat hy nou gaan hê en hoe dit die politiek gaan beïnvloed. Right, this had a profound effect on his attitudes towards race back in the United States of America. And he started to display a good-natured attitude towards the civil rights movement and white people. In a speech when he came back, he said that there were a lot of people with different physical appearances that had the same goals, non-violent approaches and so forth. And he started to do away with the more militant approach and see the bigger picture of things within society. And he actually came back to the United States of America with a much softer approach towards the politics. So toe Malcolm X weg was na Mekka toe, het hy baie veranderinge ondergaan. Hy het byvoorbeeld met 'n praatjie terug in die FSA gesê dat baie van die mense het verskillende fisiese eienskappe, blou oë, bruin oë, wat ook al, en dat daar alternatiewes is en dat hy die ander kant van die mensdom gesien het as waarmee hy groot geword het. En terug in die FSA sou dit vir hom 'n ander benadering gegee het wat meer op nie geweld gebaseer is. Right. So Malcolm X in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, got the feeling that, you know what, violence is not always the answer. He saw something else than the way he grew up with, the experiences he had when he was young. He saw that there was something bigger than the ideas that he were raised with and the difficulties he suffered while growing up in wanting political changes to take place. Now, Malcolm X was then threatened by the Nation of Islam, and he was also assassinated on the 21st of February 1965 while addressing a gathering in New York. So Malcolm X is deurlopend gedreig deur die nasie van Islam toe hy teruggekom het na die FSA toe en hy het 'n ander benadering gehad en hy is dan ook vermoor op die 21ste Februarie 1965 terwyl hy mense toegespreek het in New York. Now 3 members of the Nation of Islam were arrested and convicted of his murder. Right. So 3 lede van die nasie van Islam is dan gearresteer en aangekla van sy moord. Then another example that we are going to look of an important leader during the Black Power movement is Stokely Carmichael. Okay, so Malcolm X is the one and Stokely Carmichael is another case study of an important person within the Black Power movement. So Stokely Carmichael is nog 'n baie belangrike persoon ten opsigte van die Swartmagbeweging en dit is 'n ander voorbeeld wat ons gaan gebruik. Now in the background there on my slide, you will see that there is a light photo of Stokely Carmichael there in the background. Now, Stokely Carmichael was born in Trinidad in 1941. He immigrated to Harlem, New York with his parents, also at a young age. In 1961, Carmichael participated in the Freedom Rides, and he was then also consequently imprisoned for 49 days in a jail in Mississippi. Right. So Stokely Carmichael is gebore in Trinidad in 1941. Hy het dan ook geëmigreer saam met sy familie na Harlem in New York, ook teen 'n baie jong ouderdom. En dan in 1961 het Carmichael begin deelneem aan die Freedom Rides, vryheidsritte, en hy is dan ook vir sy aandeel daarin in die tronk gegooi vir 49 dae in Mississippi. He became the chairperson of the SNCC. Now that stands for the Student Nonviolence Coordinating Committee, and that was in 1966. Now, grade 12s, an important thing that you need to remember is that when you write an essay or answers, the first time that you write an acronym in an essay, so for example, you use the SNCC in your third paragraph of the essay for the first time, you need to write out what the acronym actually stands for. And then you can continue the rest of your essay using the acronym. But the first time when you use the acronym, please write it out so that the markers actually can see that you know what the acronym stands for. Right. It will also present a better quality essay if you know what the acronyms stand for. Right, he was expelled in 1967 for his failure to consult effectively with members before making policies. So Carmichael would make decisions on behalf of the people without consulting them and then making it into policies, and this would obviously lead to a lot of conflict within the SNCC, and yes, obviously this will then lead to his expulsion from the group as such. Hy het dan die voorsitter geword van die SNCC, die Studente Geen Geweld Koördineringskomitee in 1966, en hy is dan ook gevra om te loop in 1967 omdat hy besluite geneem het namens medestudente en goeie sonder om hulle te konsulteer in die proses, en dat hy beleide daarvolgens gemaak het, reg, en hulle het hom gevra om te loop as gevolg van dit. He believed that white people were the main cause of black suffering. Now again, we can go back to many years ago with slavery, we can go back to the Civil War in America, we can go back to in the Civil War with the North versus the South, we can go back to the Ku Klux Klan, etc. That everything bad that has happened to black people was caused by white people. So he blamed the white people for the circumstances of black people. So hy het geglo dat wit mense die ondergang was van swart mense in die vir hulle swaar kry, en ons kan dit terugvat na die tyd van slawerny, ons kan dit weer terugvat na die burgeroorlog van Amerika, die geveg tussen die noorde en die suide, ons kan hier kyk na die Ku Klux Klan en allerlei sulke gebeure, en onthou dat dit die mentaliteit van die mense verskriklik beïnvloed het, en weer eens dat hy een van die mense was wat die wit mense geblameer het. They were to blame for the poor conditions that the black people experienced as such. Right. Approach, if non-violence was not effective as a strategy for liberation, a more violent approach was needed. Now, this was a common thing within the Black Power movement, that if the things did not better after the civil rights movement's actions for the Black Americans and so forth, then obviously there needs to be more drastic measures that need to be taken to make sure that changes do take place. So for this instance, he would also consider a more violent approach, a more militaristic approach to make sure that changes do happen. So weer eens Stokely Carmichael se benadering was ook dat as die burgerregte beweging nie suksesvol kan wees om die samelewing te verbeter en die lewensomstandighede van swart mense nie, dan is 'n meer gewelddadige benadering belangriker, 'n meer militante benadering om seker te maak dat hulle die resultate kan kry wat hulle soek. Okay, die opvolg van Carmichael. Carmichael continues. Carmichael joined the Black Panthers after his expulsion from the SNCC. He became the honorary Prime Minister, and after Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination in 1968, he said that Black people know they have to get guns, that this is going to get out of control. Black people need to start protecting themselves and they need to take action. And it's only through violence that people will start to hear their voices as being serious about these issues. So Carmichael het dan die Black Panthers party of by hulle aangesluit vandat hy weg is by die SNCC en hy het ook dan hulle eerste minister geword, hulle eerbare eerste minister geword. En nadat Martin Luther King Jr. Vermoor is in 1968, het hy gesê dat dit nou die tyd is vir swart mense om gewere te kry, om hulle self te bewapen. Want dit is nou eerder deur geweld en 'n meer militante wyse dat hulle self kan beskerm en hulle stem kan dik maak en dat mense actually na hulle sal kan luister. Right. He came under increasing surveillance by the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States of America. So die FBI het nogal 'n groot houvas op Carmichael gekry en hulle het hom baie versigtig dopgehou weens wat hy gepraat het en goeters en hulle het hom gesien as 'n gevaar, 'n moontlike gevaar vir die VSA se mense. Right, the FBI regarded him as a real threat to the internal state. So die FBI het hom as 'n baie groot bedreiging gesien vir die interne staat en dat hy moontlik was tot gewelddadige gebeure wat in die VSA kon uitbreek en hulle wou dit verhoed het en hulle het hom dan konstant opgehou. So he was a threat to the internal state, investigated by the FBI. The FBI kept a very close eye on Carmichael and his movements. Not sure what his intentions were, but that obviously there were going to be violence involved and all of those things. Later on, Carmichael moved to Guinea in West Africa, and he changed his name to Kwame Ture. He now rejected the Black Panthers' willingness to work with the whites. We are going to now, after this, see what the Black Panthers were about. But the Black Panthers also started to change their point of views and going from or moving towards a more work with the white people approach. And Carmichael was sort of a black nationalist. He wanted nothing to do with the integration of white people and almost like peace talks with white people and so forth. He wanted black people to remain with pride, to take pride in their being black people. And that is why he also decided to leave the United States of America to go back to Africa and be proud of being an African, right? And he felt that with all of this pressure from the FBI and the changes within the Black Panther movement and so forth, he could not associate with all of that, right? Now, he now rejected the Black Panthers' willingness to work with the whites, and he became a socialist pan-Africanist. You will also later on in the textbook come across with Pan-Africanist movements, and then died of cancer in 1998. So, Carmichael het dan getrek na Wes-Afrika toe, na Guinea toe. Hy het sy naam verander na Kwame Ture toe. Onthou dat hy eintlik 'n swart nasionalis was en die swart trots wou probeer bevorder het. En daardeur het hy toe die Black Panther beweging of party begin verswak het of ander sienings begin kry het en goeders, het hy besluit dat hy hom eerder self sal wil vestig in Afrika en 'n trots Afrikaan wil wees ten opsigte van dit. So he became a socialist Pan-Africanist and died of cancer in 1998. Okay, so the Black Power movement, it was a movement for self-defense founded by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale in California in 1966. And the initial aim of the Black Panther movement was the protection of Black people from police brutality. Goed, die Black Panther party of beweging is gestig deur Huey Newton en Bobby Seale in Californië in 1966. En die aanvanklike doelwit van die Swart Panther party was dan die beskerming van swart mense teenoor polisie brutaliteit wat plaasgevind het. Now, the Black Panther movement initially took advantage of an old California gun law that you are allowed to carry loaded firearms with you in public as long as these firearms are openly displayed and these firearms are not pointed at someone. Goed, so die Black Panther party het 'n ou wet wat gevestig was in Californië tot hulle voordeel gebruik. En hierdie wet het basies gesê dat jy gelaaide vuurwapens saam met jou kan dra, mits dit gesien kan word in die openbaar, so dit moet sigbaar wees en jy mag ook nie jou vuurwapen rig op iemand nie. So for developing self-defense activities and so forth, this was a law that they used to their advantage to openly carry firearms to defend themselves if it became necessary. They were revolutionary socialists and had a 10-point program of demands. Now, some of these demands were made out by all kinds of people as ridiculous, but nonetheless, they wanted these things to establish the Black Panther movement as such. For just a few examples, they wanted reparations for slavery. In other words, reparations, you will see that after a war as well, that reparations need to take place, and this is that they need to pay for damages done. So white people had to pay for the damages done by slavery. Now, at this time in the 1960s and so forth, this was seen as ridiculous because slavery was abolished centuries ago, making it also more difficult and ridiculous. Then also black men to be exempted from military services because they felt that black men did not want to fight for a government that did not consider them as equals. They did not want to fight for a government that did not look after black people as such. And therefore they wanted to be exempted from the military service of the United States of America. So there was a whole 10-point program with demands that they wanted the government to adhere to. Right. So die Black Panther party was revolusionêre sosialiste gewees en hulle het 'n 10-punt program opgestel met eise wat hulle gestel het aan die regering. Nou sommige van hierdie eise is as baie belaglik gesien. Met ander woorde, daar was vergoeding vir slawerny gewees. In hierdie tyd het hulle dit afgemaak as belaglik omdat slawerny alreeds eeue tevore afgeskaf is of 'n eeu tevore afgeskaf is en dit lankal verby is en dat daar nie finansiële vergoeding daarvoor gegee kan word nie, want daar het alreeds ontsettend baie veranderinge plaasgevind sedert dan. En dat ook dat het hulle eis ingestel om te sê byvoorbeeld dat swart mans vrygestel moet word van verpligte militêre diens of van militêre diens af, want hulle het gevoel dat die regering glad nie omsien na die belange van die swart mense nie, en hoe kom die swart mense dan vir die Verenigde State van Amerika baklei, as hulle as subhuman of inferior of so iets beskou word as sulks. Goed. Now, important to know is that the Black Panthers movement were not black nationalist. They had a more socialistic approach, not a nationalist approach. They were willing to cooperate with white people who supported their socialist ideas, right? Especially towards the end of the the development of the Black Panthers Party and so forth. They did not have a problem with working with white people or people with other backgrounds and so forth, as long as these people supported their ideas. They would welcome them into this party as well. Whereas a black nationalist would want nothing to do with white people or have any white assistance or so forth as such. They would see themselves as being totally independent, proud to be black. They don't need the help of white people. So weer eens, belangrik om te weet, die Black Panther party was nie nasionaliste gewees nie. Onthou, 'n nasionalis, swart nasionalis probeer totaal en al onafhanklik wees van wit mense. Hulle wil hulle eie opkoms hê, hulle wil onafhanklik wees, hulle self ontwikkel en hulle wil 'n nasionalistiese staat hê. Reg. So hierdie was meer sosialistiese mense gewees. Met ander woorde, hulle was bereid om saam met wit mense te werk en mense van ander agtergronde, solank hulle dieselfde sentimente gedeel het. Solank as wat hulle ook sosialistiese idees gehad het, wat hulle geïmplementeer het, dan was hulle bereid om wit mense te aanvaar, om hulle ook te help in hulle veldtog in die Swartmagbeweging. Right. This, however, changed when Carmichael became the honorary Prime Minister of the Black Panther movement. Then obviously the Black Panther movement started to become more nationalist, more militaristic in its approach, and so forth, starting to move away from the more open socialist point of view to a more nationalist point of view. But this is also then one of the reasons that the Black Panther movement will come to an end. Right. So the Black Panther party or movement then started to change, of het begin verander met Carmichael, wat die eerware eerste minister geword het van hierdie party ook, dat het meer of hulle het meer 'n swart nasionalistiese belange begin aanhang eerder as die sosialistiese siening om saam met ander mense saam te werk en so aan, nê? En onthou dat dit was in die tyd toe toe verandering nou nogal 'n groot rol gespeel het in die revolusionêre sienswyses en so aan. Okay, the Black Panthers continue. So after Carmichael's removal in 1967, the Black Panther Party moved towards a revolutionary internationalist movement. So it's more socialist in nature, right? So they would try to work with people in different countries, people of different racial backgrounds, become more socialist. As long as people supported what they stood for, they would let people into the Black Panthers Party, right? This was also a party of opposites. In the first instance, they were involved in criminal activities to raise funds for the Black Panther Party. For example, drug dealing, prostitution, and extortion of money. And then they were also involved in violent confrontations with the police. And they would call it this then also self-defense against police brutality. Nou, die Black Panther party was ook 'n party van baie kontras gewees. In die eerste plek het hulle ook deelgeneem aan kriminele aktiwiteite om hulle self te befonds. Hulle het byvoorbeeld handel gedryf in dwelms, hulle het prostitusie toegelaat en dan ook die uitbuiting van geld wat met dit plaasgevind het. En dan het hulle ook betrokke geraak in gewelddadige betogings en konfrontasies met die polisie as sulks. Reg. But then on the other side, there was also a good nature to the Black Panther Party. In other words, they operated survival programs. So this was in contrast with the criminal activities. They would provide free clinics to their people to make sure that their people have access to clinical and hospital facilities where their needs are priority, right? They would also provide lessons in self-defense so that people can especially protect themselves against police brutality. Then also first aid training, that if their people get injured or so forth, that they can help their own people. Again, this all has to do with the upliftment of Black people, independent of white people. They can develop themselves, they can establish all of these things themselves. They don't really need the help of other people, okay? Unless for the Black Panthers, if these people also tend to have and share their views and support them. Okay, then they also offer drug and alcohol rehabilitation centers and programs, and this is quite in contrast with their drug dealing activities to get money or raise funds. Then they also provided education for their own children, and then there was also a free breakfast for children program to feed children in poverty-stricken areas where food was scarce and so forth, right? Because we all know that in order to have good education and in order to focus on your education and so forth, you obviously need food. It's difficult to be successful in education if you are hungry all the time and you don't have access to proper food and so forth, right? So then there came a split within the Black Panther Party due to different points of view. Now remember that in the beginning of the slideshow, I told you that the Black Power movement was not a formal organization, that there were different people with different ideas. And this would now also lead to the end of the Black Panther Party, them falling apart, because again, you would have your reformists on the one side that wanted changes to take place in the community, that wanted to have effective talks with people from all over the world who supported their ideas and so forth, versus the total revolutionaries, people that would more go into the side of Carmichael's point of view to become more nationalist and more militaristic and use more violence and all of those things. And this created a lot of internal tension and conflict within these groups, right? So this is important to know that in many cases with many of these groups within Black Power movement and so forth, many times if people cannot agree on points of view and they have different points of view and so forth, this will lead to the end of something. Goed, so die swart, the Black Panthers Party het dan verskillende programme gehad wat in teenstryd was met kriminele aktiwiteite wat hulle ook gehad het ten opsigte daarvan om fondse bymekaar te kry sodat hulle kan funksioneer. So baie van die lede in die Black Panthers party was betrokke gewees by dwelmhandel, prostitusie en uitbuiting van geld, wat ons reeds oor gepraat het, maar in die teenkant daarvan het hulle self ook probeer ophef met verskillende programme. So hulle het byvoorbeeld gratis klinieke begin, sodat almal toegang kan kry tot mediese fasiliteite en mediese sorg. Hulle het klas gehad in selfverdediging, veral ten opsigte van polisie brutaliteit, dat hulle self kon verdedig het daar. Hulle het first aid noodhulp opleiding gehad, wat hulle ook dan gehelp het, en dan het hulle ook dwelm- en alkohol rehabilitasiesentrums gestig, en dit is nou nogal in teenstryd met die dwelmhandel wat hulle gedoen het, ten opsigte om fondse te kry, het hulle ook rehabilitasieprogramme in plek gekry. Hulle het dan ook gratis opvoeding gegee vir die kinders, 'n beter kwaliteit opvoeding, en dan het hulle ook 'n program gehad, die Free Breakfast for Children program, om kinders wat vasgevang is in armoede, wat nie die noodsaaklike kosvoorrade het en goeders nie te voed, want soos julle almal ook weet, is dit belangrik om, as jy effektiewe opvoeding wil hê, dat jy kos in jou lyf het om te kan leer, want dit is noodsaaklik. Reg, en dan was daar 'n split gewees in die Black Panthers party. Daar was reformiste gewees en daar was revolusionêres gewees. So dit het gelei tot baie konflik binne-in, interne konflik binne in die Black Panthers party en wat hulle op die einde van die dag uitmekaar uit laat spat het, reg. Want party van hulle was gewillig om met ander mense te werk, internasionaal en so aan, en dan het jy jou revolusionêres gehad wat meer nasionalisties was en meer na Carmichael se siening oorgegaan het. En as daar nie samewerking is nie, dan kan 'n mens verwag dat 'n party nie suksesvol gaan wees nie, soos in die geval van die Black Panthers, right? And then also increasing legal fees ended the Black Panthers party, because obviously when there's a lot of conflict and people being arrested and you're trying to keep them out of jail and all of those things, and you try to provide all of these things, there's a lot of legal costs that amounts to a lot of money. And if the money is not available, then obviously this would lead to a failure within the Black Panther Party, because people will also start to lose their trust within the Black Panther Party. Right, sorry, I'm going to take a sip of water because my voice is not that strong anymore. Okay, let's look at the gains of the Black Panther, of the Black Power movement. Right, so the gains of the Black Power movement involved greater racial pride and self-confidence. Remember, they promoted Black is beautiful, you can take pride in yourself, be proud of being Black, and let your self-confidence grow. You don't need white people to place you in a box and to tell you what to do. You can develop yourselves and you can be proud to be Black as such. Then development of Black politics. Obviously that now people came to realize that they can have a bigger say in the politics of a country. They saw this from the civil rights movement going on to the Black Power movement, the rise of important, influential people, that this is an ability that they have. They have power to become more involved in politics and have a bigger say in politics as such. Then also more moderate change, like the civil rights movement became more acceptable in America due to the Black Power movement, that especially under the white people, because where the white people that were very conservative in the beginning was very much against the civil rights movement, the civil rights movement now became much less serious than the Black Power movement. They were more scared of the Black Power movement than the civil rights movement. And if they now started to show more support towards the civil rights movement, this is in effect more positive on Black people as a whole, irrespective if you support the civil rights movement or the Black Power movement, because obviously the civil rights movement are also there to create some changes, necessary changes for Black people to take place, right? Then Black voters mobilized to support Black candidates for the office. In other words, now also as Blacks received more voting rights and so forth, they could now also vote for more Black people within government positions that could represent them to some level within government, right? And if it wasn't for these people like the civil rights movement, the Black Power movement and so forth, if it wasn't for these events and Black people starting to rise up and make their voices heard, then obviously a lot of later political decisions and so forth would be completely useless, right? Black studies programs developed by universities and colleges, for example, African studies and so forth. Now people started to become more interested in Black history. They became more interested in Black politics, in African studies and so forth. And this also creates a bigger knowledge when you are working with different cultures and backgrounds and religions and history and so forth, to get a greater insight in events that would later on also have a huge benefit on the politics of the country. Then specific issues in Black communities were addressed more effectively. There was a greater sense of solidarity, of working together, greater sense of ethnic identity. So Black people now started to take pride in their own culture. Fashion started to develop under the Black people as unique Black fashion. Hairstyles, if we think about the Afro hairstyle that was developed as Black is beautiful and that this is now acceptable, accept your own beauty. If we think about arts, literature, food, if we think about the musics that started to develop, jazz, other forms of culture and literature and so forth, that would not previously be there if it wasn't for Black people starting to take pride in their cultures and developing themselves, right? Then greater tolerance in the USA started to develop for multiculturalism because people now also started to learn more about one another. A lot of people, I think, before these movements and so forth were unaware. Again, this is a generation thing where you grow up from one generation to the next, just accepting things that was said to you from one generation to the next without making decisions on your own, without evaluating things. And I think that many of these political programs and so forth started to promote these things for people to see all of these things. Right, now movies that you can watch. Panther is a documentary that you can also download from Amazon.com if you have the facilities. Then another movie that we can think of is Malcolm X, that is played by Denzel Washington. There's another movie called Pride. So there are movies available that you can watch. Some of them has or have fictional content as well within these DVDs or these movies, but obviously nonetheless can be of great value into gaining an understanding into these events. Right. People, I really hope that you enjoyed the session. If you do have any questions, please make sure that they are in the question boxes, and we will provide you with answers after the session. Remember that my colleague is also, I think she also answered a lot of questions so far, but just to make sure that we capture all of your questions. So I really hope that you enjoyed the session. Vir die Afrikaanse leerders ook, ek hoop julle het hierdie sessie geniet. Ek hoop dat dit ook van waarde was vir julle. En yes, people, if you are not registered with Impact and you need further information, you are welcome to contact us at info@impact.co.za. If you have any general queries and so forth, you can also send that at info@impact.co.za. Okay, guys, I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you. I really enjoyed this. I really hope that you enjoyed this too. And then I will see you in future again for the next seminar. Bye. Dankie, Serena.